Newman had been troubled by the persistent feeling that something about Sienna's actions didn't fit up. Nick had been drawn to her like a magnet ever since she entered his life because she was endearing, enigmatic, and surprisingly vulnerable. He felt protective because she had showed him glimmers of her history, moments of terror and tenderness. Recently, however, there had been fissures. She didn't answer the phone, driving late at night with evasive justifications. When he walked in, she hurriedly closed the documents, and the eerie expression in her eyes whenever he spoke of family, particularly his own. The parts began to come together tonight. Nick had visited her at her apartment in the hopes of having a conversation with her, and possibly resolving the issue once and for all. However, she wasn't present. The door was slightly open and the lights were out. Tension and the subtle smell of perfume filled the air inside. Something didn't feel right. After hesitating at the door, he entered and whispered, "Sienna? You here?" No response. He looked around the darkened room. A glass of unopened wine, a little stack of mail, and a crumpled envelope with the name Newman Enterprises on it were all on the table. He scowled. His heart was pounding harder by the second as he stepped closer and grabbed it up. He had opened the envelope and partially removed its contents, which included private financial data, reports with the label private, and a file at the bottom that had his name. Nick stopped. He unfurled the papers slowly, looking through them. He clenched his jaw. They were internal reports, comprehensive summaries of Newman's private operations, and contained sensitive material that was only accessible by family members or senior executives. They weren't merely corporate records. An email printout with Sienna's name, her signature, and correspondence to someone identified only as VW was located at the bottom of the final page, and it made his blood run cold. He immediately recognized their initials. Ward Victor, the son of Ian Ward, a notorious manipulator and scam artist, is suspected of conducting illicit business abroad. Nick's heart fell. His heartbeat roared in his ears as he stumbled backward. He mumbled, No, this can't be." His mind racing, he flipped over the papers once more, his hands shaking. Was Victor Ward Sienna's employer? Was everything about this relationship, the connection, the trust, a setup? The door behind him suddenly cracked open. Nick's eyes met Sienna's as he turned abruptly. When she saw what he was holding in his hands, she paused at the doorway, her face going pale. "Nick," she said in a tremulous tone, "why are you in this place? Why am I in this place?" His voice was harsh, low, and full of controlled rage. "Sienna, perhaps you should explain to me what you're doing with the emails to Ian Ward's son and the Newman documents." She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. There was an overwhelming quiet between them. At last she took a step forward, her eyes sparkling. "Please, Nick. It isn't what you believe." He threw the papers on the table and stated sternly, "Then you'd better start explaining fast. Because it appears that you have been spying on my family at the moment." As she attempted to calm herself, Sienna's hands shook. In search of words, she opened her mouth and then shut it again. "I wasn't spying," she muttered. "I was keeping you safe." Nick gave a sour laugh. "Are you defending me? Through the theft of corporate records and forwarding them to Ian Ward's son? Is that how you keep me safe?" Her eyes filled with tears. "You're not understanding," she said. "I didn't intend to cause you harm. I promise I didn't. Something much larger than you realize is what I was attempting to stop." Nick tightened his jaw. "Then let me know. Now, Sienna, what on earth are you concealing?" She paused, her gaze straying to the ground. He saw the fight within her, the desperation, the embarrassment, the dread. At last she muttered, "I was employed by him. For Victor Ward." Nick's entire world shifted. "You were employed by him? I had no other option," she exclaimed, her voice cracking. "Years ago, after I fled Ian's cult, he discovered me. I believed I had gotten away, but Victor discovered me. If I assisted him in learning more about Newman Enterprises, he promised to protect me and give me a fresh start. Nick, he threatened me even though I didn't want to do it. He threatened to inform Ian where I was and send him after me if I didn't comply." Nick's expression stiffened. "So you choose to tell me a lie? Act as though you were concerned? Act as though this," he indicated between them, "were genuine. It was authentic." The voice of Sienna broke. "Every moment and everything we had were genuine. Nick, I fell in love with you. The plan did not include that. I never intended to do you or your family any harm. Nick's heart was racing as he gazed at her. One of the most dangerous men in the world was collaborating with the woman he had trusted, confided in, and possibly even loved. His face became white as he stepped back. After all I just seen, can you expect me to believe that? Sienna, you played me. You took advantage of me. I didn't, she exclaimed, taking a step forward. I swear I made an effort to stop once I met you. Weeks ago I stopped reporting to him. He has started threatening me again because of this. He is well informed about you, your family, and Newman Enterprises, Nick. He is preparing a major scheme that might wipe you all out. Nick gasped for air. How can you destroy us? She swallowed forcefully, her eyes darting anxiously to the window as though she thought someone may be looking. He has been preparing to seize control of Newman from within. Using financial information that has been taken and confidential agreements your father made years ago, he is blackmailing employees in your firm with the goal of exposing everything, bringing down the business, and damaging your reputation. He was using me to obtain what he needed. Nick balled his fists. Disbelief, confusion, and rage were racing through his head. You were his mole then. I was his pawn, she muttered. I had no desire to be. I believed I could manage it and provide him with unimportant information until I figured out a way to get out. However, he threatened to harm both you and me when I attempted to break off contact. He claimed to have individuals observing us, that he would make you pay if I didn't comply. Nick's anger subsided and was replaced by fear. Seeking to discern the truth in her eyes, he scanned her face. And you kept it from me? You came to me because you didn't trust me enough? I was scared, she murmured quietly. You're not aware of Victor Ward's abilities. His father is better than him. Nick, you would pursue him if I informed you, and he would murder you. That is not something I could tolerate. Nick brushed a hand through his hair and turned aside. The earth seemed to be vanishing beneath him. All of his preconceived notions about Sienna, her fragility, her strength, and her honesty, were suddenly clouded by lies. But there was genuine sadness in her voice. A part of him wanted to despise her, but he couldn't. His voice was quiet but tremulous as he turned around. What do you not tell me? You claim to be defending me. From where? Sienna's mouth quivered. Because, Nick, Victor's goal isn't simply about the business. It's intimate. Nick scowled. What do you mean? After a moment of hesitation, she said, there's a reason he wanted me to become close to you. To learn more about her. Who is she? Tears were flowing down her cheeks as she inhaled deeply. Your daughter. Nick stopped. How about my daughter? The voice of Sienna shattered. He is aware of Faith. He is aware of everything, including where she travels and who she speaks to. He threatened to pursue her if I didn't continue to provide him with information. Nick became rigid all throughout. Anger flashed in his eyes. He what? I did it for that reason, she exclaimed. I had to stop him from harming her. I reasoned that he would avoid your family if I cooperated and gave him just enough to satisfy him. He then made more demands, including access to Newman's banking codes, personal information, and security files. I declined. At that point, everything began to go out of control. As Nick attempted to take it all in, his chest heaved. He felt ill, angry, scared, and betrayed all at once. To regain his balance, he grasped the table's edge. Sienna, you ought to have approached me. I could have been of assistance to you. I would have been of assistance to you. I understand, she said in a regretful murmur. However, I didn't want to bring you into the shadows I was fleeing. I believed I could manage on my own. However, I can no longer. Nick, he's observing me. He is observing us. Nick's rage subsided into a protective attitude. Her face was marked with tiredness, and he could see the fear in her eyes. She was telling the truth. He was familiar with the appearance of genuine fear. He moved in closer. He whispered, "You're not alone anymore. This must stop right away if he is aiming for my family." Sienna gave a headshake. "You're not getting it. If you pursue him, he will ruin you. He already has employees working for you, Newman. No one can be trusted." Nick's thoughts were racing as he gazed at her. His stomach twisted at the idea that Victor Ward might have entered Newman from the inside. Over the years, his father had developed strong adversaries, but this was something else. It was a personal matter. He put his hand out and cupped her chin tenderly. Then together we battle him. You are no longer running. I'm not either. As she looked into his eyes, Sienna's lips quivered. After all I've done, you still trust me. Nick's eyes blazed with resolve, but his voice remained steady. You erred. However, you were attempting to keep the people I care about safe. That is significant. She breathed shakily for the first time in days. Nick, I'm afraid. He gave a nod. I am too. But I'm not going to let fear stop me. Victor Ward is in for another surprise if he believes he can target my family. For a few periods they stood silently, the tension high but the truth fully exposed between them. The distant roar of thunder outside seemed to be a reflection of the storm that was building in Genoa City. Nick looked out the window, seeing a mixture of anger and determination in his reflection. He declared, "We're going to bring him down. But first I must know everything he told you, including all of his threats and agreements. We cannot continue to keep secrets from one another if we are to stop him." Sienna wiped away her tears and nodded softly. "I'll tell you everything after that. Even the line I've been too scared to utter aloud." Nick looked back at her with a somber gaze. "What section?" Her voice trailed off to a whisper as she paused. "Victor Ward doesn't work by himself. Someone close to you is inside him, Newman." Nick's heart stopped beating. "Who?" His eyes met Sienna's, filled with fear and sadness. "Your sibling." Nick's face turned pale. "Adam." Slowly Sienna nodded. "For months he has been assisting Victor Ward. I'm not sure if your father is aware of it. However, Nick, Adam is more involved than you realize." Once more Nick's world fell apart. His heart pounded, his mind crashing in disarray. Adam, his own brother, collaborating with Ian Ward's son? Betrayal on top of treachery. Sienna extended her hand to grasp his. "This is not how I wanted to tell you. But you had to be aware." Nick remained silent. He simply gazed past her into the storm that had started to batter the windows. All of his preconceived notions about loyalty, family, and trust had suddenly fallen apart. However, there was little doubt that the impending war would completely alter Genoa City, and the revelation Sienna had made tonight would rock the Newman Empire to its foundation. When Nick Newman finally discovered the truth that had been bothering him for weeks, the night air in Genoa City was tense. Sienna had been a tornado of beauty, charm, and secrets ever since she had come into his life. She was always just out his reach, always concealing something behind those sulky, perceptive eyes. Now, however, as Nick stood in her dark apartment, the truth was strewn like glass fragments across her coffee table. Bank transfers, private Newman Enterprises documents, and a string of encrypted emails between Sienna and a person with the initials VW. The realization made Nick's heart sink. He said, "Victor Ward. The son of Ian Ward, one of the most sinister characters in his family's history." His blood froze. A name that had plagued the Newmans for decades was linked to the woman he had trusted, possibly even loved. Sienna's face turned pale as the door cracked open and she entered. When she saw the papers in Nick's hands, she froze. "Nick," she said in a tremulous whisper, "you weren't supposed to see that." However, it was too late. Nick's eyes said everything about his anger and incredulity. His voice was thick with rage as he said, "You've been lying to me. What were you doing all along? Snooping on my family?" With a trembling step forward, Sienna's tears fell. "No, please Nick, it's not what you believe. I was compelled to hurt you even though I didn't want to." Nick's face became stern. Compelled? By whom? Nick felt as though the floor had fallen out from under him as she finally called out Victor Ward's name. When Sienna attempted to explain, her voice broke. She shared with him the years she had spent escaping her past, including Ian Ward's cult and men who had abused her and left her in ruins. When she was in need, Victor Ward had come across her and offered her safety and a fresh start in exchange for her assistance. She sobbed as she admitted, "He told me I had to get close to you. He desired information, including access to Newman's financial records, security files, and other documents. He threatened to tell Ian where I was if I didn't." Nick, I was scared. I was at a loss for what to do. Stunned and with every nerve in his body burning, Nick gazed at her. "So you took advantage of me," he muttered. "It was a lie, everything between us?" However, Sienna gave a strong shake of her head. No, Nick. It was real. I had no intention of falling in love with you. I was hoping to learn something, but instead, for the first time in years, I found someone who gave me a sense of security. Nick's rage started to give way to more complex feelings like pain, perplexity, and even sympathy. He could see the terror still present in her eyes and how devastated she was. But there was still a burning question. What prevented you from telling me the truth? Sienna took a deep breath. Because he said that if I did, he would harm your daughter. He claimed to be fully aware of Faith's whereabouts and conversation partners. I couldn't take the chance. At what she said, Nick's heart froze. Inside him, everything became blazing. His voice was low but lethal as he took a step closer. I'll kill him if he even considers touching my family. Whispering, he's watching us, Nick. Sienna wept. He's not finished yet. He's not working alone. He's planning something. Nick's mouth clenched. Who else is involved? The response was a ghostly one. Your sibling, she remarked. Adam is assisting him. Nick sucked breath out of his lungs and froze. Betrayal. Family. Risk. All of his fears had come true today. Nick came to the realization that the awful truth Sienna had been concealing was just the start of a conflict that would tear Genoa City apart as the thunder shattered outside.